It is finally over, the nail-biting, blood-pressure-raising, thrill-causing football transfer window. But not all clubs can say they had a good one because quite a few of their shots failed to hit the target. In this video, we'll be looking at the deals that took place in the dying minutes of the window but failed. Here are 10 late bids that were rejected on deadline day this summer. Number 10. Emiliano Martinez to Galatasaray and Manchester United. What a hilarious turn of events. Emiliano Martinez put on a real show at the end of last season, waving goodbye to Aston Villa fans with what seemed like genuine tears. It was an obvious PR move, suggesting he was about to leave the club despite having years left on his contract, but then the summer transfer window opened and crickets. No one came knocking for Martinez, even with all the talk about Manchester United's interest. For 3 long months, his tearful farewell just looked more and more embarrassing. Manchester United eventually came calling, but they didn't want to meet Villa's £40 million asking price. Just when it seemed like a transfer was finally going to happen, bam, we got a here we go for a different player, 23-year-old Sene Lammens. Then Galatasaray tried to sign him, but Martinez said no. Now he's stuck at Villa and has to work on rebuilding his relationship with an unhappy Unai Emery. You can't make this stuff up. Number 9. Ademola Lookman to Bayern Munich and Tottenham Hotspur. What a mess. The Ademola Lookman situation turned into a real tragedy this transfer window. The media was buzzing that he had an agreement with Inter, and even football legend Didier Drogba reportedly got involved on behalf of CAF to help get the deal done, but Atalanta wasn't budging. Lookman was furious, but the club just refused to negotiate. Then, on deadline day, things got wild. Both Spurs and Bayern Munich showed up with loan-to-buy offers. Bayern put a solid €5 million loan fee on the table with a €26 million option to buy, and Spurs had a similar deal in mind. You'd think that would be enough for Atalanta to agree, but nope, they said no to both. Now, Lookman is stuck there and has a difficult relationship with the fans who feel he disrespected the shirt during the ordeal. Italian football is known for these kinds of situations, so you just have to wish the guy the best. Number 8. Tariq George to Fulham. What a tough situation for Tariq George. Nicknamed Evil Saka, he's been pushed even further down the pecking order at Chelsea thanks to the recent arrivals of Alejandro Garnacho and Facundo Buonanotte. The most frustrating part, he was reportedly on the verge of a £22 million move to Fulham, but Chelsea's strange transfer strategy put a stop to it. Transfer expert Fabrizio Romano shared on his YouTube channel that George was heartbroken because he saw it as his big chance to get on the field. The club has added him to the Champions League squad, which is a good sign, but it's hard to tell what manager Maresca has planned. The general feeling is that George won't be a key part of his plans anytime soon. Number 7. Jurgen Strand Larsen to Chelsea. Everyone knows about Chelsea's frantic attempt to get Nicholas Jackson back from Bayern after Liam Delap's injury, but when that move didn't happen, the chaos really began. The Blues immediately recalled Marc Guéhiou, who had barely settled in at Sunderland on his season-long loan, but the most incredible part of the story was their move for Jurgen Strand Larsen. Chelsea contacted Wolves to try and sign a striker who the Midlands club had just paid €23 million for. Reports even claimed Chelsea were ready to spend up to €55 million on him, but Wolves said no. This whole situation makes you wonder how on earth Enzo Maresca would have juggled a forward line featuring João Pedro, Marc Guéhiou, Liam Delap and Strand Larsen. I guess we'll never get to see that particular tactical headache play out. Number 6. Angelo Stiller to Manchester United. Manchester United had a decent transfer window, but their midfield is still a major concern. With just Kobbie Mainoo, Manuel Ugarte, Mason Mount, Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes to choose from, their options feel both limited and uninspiring. After a move for Carlos Baleba stalled over his price, United made a deadline day push for Angelo Stiller. Stuttgart was willing to sell, but the deal ultimately fell through because of the player himself. Stiller, who has already made 4 appearances for Germany, is trying to impress new national team manager Julian Nagelsmann. While a move to United would have been a step up, Stiller decided to stay at Stuttgart because manager Ruben Amorim couldn't guarantee him enough minutes. It was a smart move, as he wants to ensure he gets consistent playing time to earn a spot in the squad for the 2026 World Cup. Number 5. Conor Gallagher to Manchester United. Manchester United's chaotic deadline day also included them missing out on Conor Gallagher. It seems they wanted a loan deal, but Atletico Madrid was only open to a permanent transfer. While United had plenty of time to work out a deal, it really makes you wonder if they were ever that serious about signing him. Either that, or Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos are being very strict about cutting costs. So, in the end, United finished the window without Baleba, Stiller or Gallagher, a tough blow for their midfield. Number 4. Aymeric Laporte to Athletic Club Bilbao. This deal had already happened on paper, but Al Nassr were too slow with their own side of the bargain. Aymeric Laporte was ready to return to his childhood club, Athletic Club Bilbao, for just 10 million euros and everything was ready. Athletic Club submitted their papers to La Liga and FIFA, but Al Nassr didn't turn in theirs. Then the transfer window closed and everything was called off by FIFA. The World Football governing body has said that the move can only happen in the January transfer window, but will both clubs still be willing to do business then? We can't help but feel for Laporte. The next three moves were falling pieces of a domino. Number 3, Joe Gomez to AC Milan. Joe Gomez had long straddled the line of irrelevance at Liverpool, but he had always managed to do just enough to remain a key squad option. 2024-25 appeared to be his last season, however, because it was becoming crystal clear that Arne Slot was thinking differently. When AC Milan came with £13 million, it all looked set to be the end of a storied career as a backup for Gomez at Liverpool. His sights were now set on becoming a key man at Milan, until Palace pulled out of their deal with the Reds for Marc Guéhi. One failed transfer ruined 3, and it's all because Liverpool didn't move with speed. Number 2, Igor Julio to Crystal Palace. This is another victim of Liverpool's failure to move with speed in the transfer window. When Liverpool finally called Palace to sanction that infamous deal, it sent them into a scramble. But even though Palace respected the player's wishes, they couldn't let him go because his replacement, Igor Julio of Brighton and Hove Albion, moved to West Ham United instead of Palace. It is understood Igor pulled out of the Palace deal because he was concerned about his game time at Selhurst Park. That was because Palace were also approaching other central defenders, with Kamvot completing his move and talks taking place over Pavlovic. Number 1, Marc Guéhi to Liverpool. Of course, Marc Guéhi is in the number 1 spot. Crystal Palace had long resigned to losing their captain and had already told Liverpool their terms for letting the defender go. Sure, negotiations took place, but the fact that nothing happened until so late in the window showed that Guéhi was definitely not a priority for the Reds, at least not like Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz. Unfortunately for Guéhi, Palace had to pull the plug on the £35 million deal, even though they had already let him go for his Liverpool medicals and prepared a farewell video montage that got leaked. You've got to feel for the young chap. Liverpool looked set to conquer the world this season and he missed out on deadline day. But as you have seen, he was not the only one. We wonder how these failed deals will affect all the clubs involved. Whatever the outcome, Goal90 will be here to document it all. Make sure you catch all our videos on the transfer window. Head to the videos section of our channel and see all the great content on one of the most exciting and expensive windows in football history. Catch you in the next one. Bye.
I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering.